All right, what's up, everyone? A little Q&A. I want to talk about a little bit about deloads. And so I got some questions about how do I train when I'm tired and when I'm fatigued. And I was like, well, let's kind of tackle this all at once and just say, like, look, I'm tired. I need a deload week. So how do I train still during a deload week or period of time? Doesn't necessarily need to be a week, by the way. So first and foremost, let's define what a deload is. A deload is simply doing less than what you had been previously doing. Now, the amount of a deload can vary, right? You might have a really small deload where you might only do 10% less than what you were previously doing. You might have a large deload where you might do 30%. You might have the biggest deload ever, which is just taking time off and having a 100% reduction. So the amount of deload can vary, and it should vary based on, well, your fatigue, your plan, and your schedule. So the way I like to think about a deload is in three cases. One, it's kind of a small daily reduction in training and volume, typically, not necessarily intensity, training volume, because I have some level of fatigue that I didn't expect. So in short, if I come into workout that day and I'm expecting to feel really good and I don't feel great, I might reduce some of the volume, so total number of sets being performed, whether that's in the accessory portion. Typically it's in the accessory portion. I like to keep my main lifts there. Or in the main lift. It's a small reduction, but still doing these same exercises. And these small deloads, I might do it for one day, maybe one set even. Well, not set, but one exercise, just the squat. Or even a couple of days, so like let's say a Thursday or a Friday. But again, it's kind of a small deload. I'll increase my rest periods. So I'll make sure that I have more time to rest in between sets because I'm just a little bit more tired than expected. So that's kind of deload number one. Deload number two is more of a planned deload. I've been inducing fatigue on purpose. I've been working really hard and training, and now I have planned a deload period, which typically goes a little better than just a random deload. And that's where you'll hear coaches say, oh, 30% reduction in volume, 30% reduction in intensity, whatever it is. There's two ways you can kind of deload for this planned version. It's either in volume, the amount of sets and reps that you do, or the intensity. You might do the same number of sets and reps, but reduce the total amount of weight. So for me, I'm an intensity kind of guy. I like to keep the intensity, my 1 rep percentage of present, and I'll reduce some of the volume. For me, it's volume that makes me tired, not necessarily heavy weight. So I'll keep doing some heavy movements, but the number of repetitions I'll be doing at those heavy movements will be less. So that's kind of how I program my deload. Other people, on the other hand, other people like to do the opposite. They like to kind of keep their volume present. Like I'm doing a 3x8 today, but instead of doing 75%, which is really taxing, they might do 65%. So they move the intensity off. So that's number two kind of deload. Number three kind of deload is just time off. You might have aches, pains, soreness, fatigue. I don't know what it is, but you might be needing just time away. You're burnt out mentally, and that's okay. A deload can be in the form of just taking a step back. It can also kind of be in the form, in that same notion, or that same kind of thread, not necessarily taking a step back and doing nothing, but doing something totally different. Now, it's not a deload physically, but maybe mentally. It's kind of grinding to do the same exercise and things over and over again. So you're just trying something new, fun, that hopefully sparks some excitement again because you're a little burnt out mentally, kind of in a rut. So those are kind of areas that you can look at deloading and how you can manage your fatigue during the training process. Keeping that in mind, you should always have some of these tools in your toolbox because some days you might show up and be more tired than expected. So you might need to do number one, which is that, on the day of, I'm going to handle my fatigue management, have a little bit of a deload. Number two is you might actually plan a deload because sometimes you want to plan to push yourself really hard, so you got to plan to recover. And number three, you might just kind of get mentally burnt out at times. It happens. It's happened to me. And maybe you just want to go do something fun and enjoyable. Understanding the differences in all three and when you might use each of those three is really important because you can put it into your training because at the end of the day, we want to train so we can train more and have fun in what we do. Training should be an enjoyment. It should be something we like to do. And having these tools to help us work those kind of those situations out where it's not as optimal can help us keep training and not only be healthy and safe because we're not putting ourselves through excessive fatigue, but also enjoy it and have fun. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the great questions. Feel free to like, subscribe, and follow along. As always, much appreciated, and thanks for listening.